The SABC News correspondent Laura Makin Isherwood is outside Windsor Castle. She joins us now live. Laura, a very good afternoon to you. The Duke's desire, as reported in some British media outlets, he wanted a simple, no-fuss funeral. Will he get it?
Well, he seems to have got his wishes, doesn't he? Her Majesty the Queen and the rest of the royal family saying that even though some of these arrangements have been pared back due to coronavirus restrictions that are ongoing here in the United Kingdom, it actually does reflect what the Duke of Edinburgh would have wanted. The ceremony itself, the funeral ceremony, will start in around 3 hours' time here in the United Kingdom, but military arrangements have already got underway. The Duke of Edinburgh's coffin, which has been sitting in a private chapel within the grounds of Windsor Castle, has already been moved by members of Her Majesty's 1st Battalion, the Grenadier Guards, and placed within an inner hall within Windsor Castle itself now. The coffin draped with the Duke of Edinburgh's own personal standard, his sword and his Royal Navy cap placed on top of it, and he will wait there now for another 2 hours or so until the procession can then begin. The coffin will then be moved around the grounds of Windsor Castle along a route that will be lined by members of the military, all detachments from regiments, battalions that the Duke of Edinburgh associated with throughout his 99 years. The coffin will be followed by members of the royal family, his own children, the Duke of Cambridge, of Sussex as well. They will follow on behind, and then a minute's silence that will be recognised nationally will start just before that ceremony takes place in St George's Chapel. That ceremony will, while private and only 30 guests in attendance there, it will be televised so that members of the public can see it, which it's understood will become a very big event nationally, and many members of the public are expected to watch.
Right. Laura, I understand that the Duke's coffin will be transported using a Land Rover hearse, which reportedly he helped to design.
Yes, so this is a specially modified Land Rover, which is a car that the royal family have used throughout the entirety of their lives. The Duke of Edinburgh is known for really liking Land Rovers and making sure that he had a number in the fleet, and he would drive them himself. And yes, he's been working with the makers, the manufacturers, Land Rover, for a number of years, it's understood, maybe sort of 12 or 13, getting that design in place. It's got an open top, it's had a colour change so that it represents a green that is associated with the military as well, and the coffin will be placed onto it and then driven along the grounds of Windsor Castle to St George's Chapel. So quite an unusual, I suppose, decision, but it's very fitting for the Duke of Edinburgh, and as you say, very representative of his wishes.
You spoke about those that will be following the hearse on foot. It would be made up of the royal family, and I understand in terms of the makeup of this, his children, Anne, Princess Royal, and Prince Charles, then Prince Edward and Prince Andrew, then comes Prince Harry and Prince William, his grandchildren, but reportedly Harry and William will be separated by Princess Royal's son, Peter Philip. Help us understand the reasoning for the formation being this way.
The palace hasn't really given a specific answer for this. They're just saying that this is the way that the family should be made up behind the coffin, and it's just basically following protocol. The two brothers are obviously there. They are separated by their cousin in between them, and they will fall into then a formation once the coffin enters St George's Chapel as well, that will place Harry behind William. It could be to do with the fact that William is sort of closer in terms of being in line to the throne than Harry himself, but I think what is probably more poignant is the fact that the whole family will be wearing mourning suits. Now, this is a break from tradition where usually the royal family would wear military uniform if they have served, but of course after Prince Harry decided to step back from the front line of royal duties, some of his associations with the military were removed from him, and it's been reported that this decision for everybody to wear mourning suits is actually to kind of spare those blushes, those questions about why that decision was made.
The Duke of Edinburgh was known around the world, but do you get a sense that there's a heightened sense of loss in Windsor?
Yes, I think so. Obviously, the Duke of Edinburgh spent his last weeks here at Windsor Castle. He came out of hospital in the middle of last month, and he came to Windsor Castle driven here, and he spent his last remaining days alongside Her Majesty the Queen within the grounds of this palace behind me. And it was a very tight-knit community, I understand, within there. There were select members of household staff that were allowed to remain in the castle with the monarch and the Duke of Edinburgh. They were affectionately known as HMS Bubble. And of course, people in Windsor walk past the castle every day. The public has been encouraged not to come here, not to create mass crowds because of coronavirus restrictions. But obviously, we expect that some people they'll want to pay their respects to the Duke of Edinburgh. And I think that that's only understandable, really.
Laura, we thank you very much indeed for your perspective. No doubt a busy afternoon for you and the team. We will touch base with you guys a little later on there. Our SABC correspondent Laura Makin Isherwood live for us at Windsor. Just to remind you that we have special coverage of the funeral service for the late Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip. Our host this afternoon will be Peter Ndora. He'll be supported by Noma Bulani. They will bring you all the live events. These are live pictures from Windsor as well. So keep it locked on to SABC News for full coverage of the funeral service of the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip. Well, as you know, that tributes have been pouring in for the late Prince Philip from around